If you're running a small YouTube channel for your law firm and struggling to make significant revenue and converting those views into new leads, it can sometimes be a mystery looking at other law firm YouTube channels and seeing how they are not only getting more views, but more business for their efforts. But what if I told you there was a simple system that you could implement today to turn your YouTube channel into a 24/7 sales machine for your law firm? I'm going to show you the exact strategies that I use that generates an additional $35,000 a month for one of my law firms, even though it has only 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'll also show you some additional secrets that I've used to grow to over 335,000 subscribers for my main channel, Hampton Law, and it now generates me over $2 million in extra revenue for that firm. Keep watching, because the small tweaks you learn today could be the difference between your law firm skyrocketing its revenues beyond anything you could ever imagine. The best way I know how to illustrate all of these great strategies is through a channel audit. Step number 1, do you know your strategy for your law firm YouTube channel? This is one of the biggest mistakes I see law firm owners make when I do channel audits for their business. Does that law firm owner know who their audience is? And are they creating videos to solve the problems and the pain points that those potential customers are looking to get taken care of? If not, you're making vanity videos, and that is a problem. Let's start with a specific law firm YouTube channel we can analyze today. And the one that I've chosen goes by the name of Law Stash. So let's pull this up and take a look. Okay, so let's take a look at the channel generally. What do I notice when I first pull up the channel page? The first thing I notice, I can tell that this is a law firm, but I have no idea what type of services he offers. Now, when I see this, I see Law Stash Law Firm, established 2012, one video every Wednesday, YouTube, right? I have to dig into the actual description section for me to understand he is a San Diego-based criminal defense and civil attorney and what exactly he actually does as part of his business services. An immediate improvement that this lawyer could make right now to his channel is to make it bold and clear exactly what type of services he offers and what exactly he stands for. I obviously can tell he's a law firm, but I cannot tell what type of services he offers, which might create some confusion. Why should I watch this channel? What is the value proposition for me spending my time watching this content on this YouTube channel? I'm trying to say here, make this for dummies. Literally make it as simple as possible. Why should someone watch your channel, and what is the emotional connection they're going to pull from this if they keep watching? I encourage you, after we finish this channel audit, take a look at your channel. Pull up your channel page. You should be able to tell within just a few seconds, literally within a second or two, looking at your channel, what problem am I solving? What services do I offer? What value proposition do I provide to the viewer to continue watching? Here, I think Law Stash can immediately improve their channel, and there's some really quick steps that can be taken here. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I give them a score of 3. Number 2, titles. When I do a channel audit for a law firm or another professional services business, one of the first things I want to look at is to see the type of titles that are being used, and do they grab the person to want to watch the content. There are some simple but yet important guidelines you need to consider anytime you're going to put together a title for your video. Number 1, keep the title under 60 characters. The reason why I say that is that otherwise the title will not show up completely, its readability, on a mobile device. Number 2, always try to create intrigue and curiosity in your title. Look, I'm going to talk about this more here in a minute with thumbnails, but if you do not grab the attention of someone and give them a reason to click on your video, it doesn't matter how great your video is, no one is going to ever watch it. Number 3, try your very best not to use legal language or business language in your titles unless it's specifically a search term. Number 4, always make sure your title complements your thumbnail. And this will make more sense when we get to the thumbnail analysis here in just a minute. But remember, the two have to go together. The next point I want to make is you need to always try to have at least 2 or 3 possible titles. Because what I have learned, I've been able to actually salvage multiple videos on my Hampton Law YouTube channel by swapping out different titles. So if one title is not doing very well, I can use a different title that might create a totally different psychological trigger for the viewer. That I've literally taken videos that were below performing videos and turned them into higher performing videos simply by changing 1 or 2 words in the title. Finally, never just trust your opinion on the title. Also ask other people. If you have the opportunity to poll 3, 4, 5, 10 people on your title, it's always interesting to see their feedback, particularly if that person fits your viewer avatar. Looking at the Lost Ass channel here, let's take a look at some of his titles. First of all, notice how long some of these titles are. I mean, this title here, police detained an innocent guy who didn't match description and had no connection. I can't even read the entire title because it's so long that even on the actual homepage here on my desktop, I'm not able to read it all. So be very careful. You don't want the title to be too long, and you don't want it to be what I call compound. In other words, you don't want to have multiple sentences on one title. The title is not a paragraph. It is simply an attention-getting device to let people know what the actual video is about. Just because YouTube gives you 99 characters to use for your title doesn't mean you should use all 99 characters. Try to keep it less than 60 characters. I'm going to tell you right now, if Lost Ash were to shorten their titles, it would immediately help their views. They would see an increase in views, and they would certainly see an increase in subscribers and potentially revenue for their business. The other suggestion I would have for this channel is that sometimes these titles don't either ask a question enough or they don't make an impactful enough statement to really grab people's attention. One of the examples would be here. Notice what this says. Let's go into this video, and we're not going to watch it, but notice the title. Police detained an innocent guy who didn't match description and had no connection to the crime. What if instead we tried a different title? What if we said, how police hold innocent people with no evidence? Now there, what is that? Or zero evidence. We now have a shorter title, how police hold innocent people with zero evidence. Well, that seems intriguing. It seems curiosity in creating, and it certainly seems kind of like that particular viewer avatar would grab a hold of them and say, that just seems wrong. I need to know more about this. Think about really trying to limit the length of your character count on your titles and really grab an attention-grabbing type statement in your title as opposed to giving a paragraph. So look at your titles. Are you creating intrigue and curiosity with your titles? For the Lost Ash channel, I have to say, here I would have to give him a score of 2 out of 10. And this is not being critical. This is saying there are some immediate steps that could be made on this particular attorney's channel that he could start improving his performance immediately. Number 3, thumbnails. This is the ultimate wrapping paper that everyone must use on their YouTube videos to earn the click. Before I launch into this, I want to remind you that the YouTube viewer, put yourself in the YouTube viewer's position. They have hundreds of videos to choose from, and many times they're swiping, whether it's on their phone, whether it's on their desktop or their tablet. They have so many options to choose from. So you have to really optimize your title and your thumbnail. And when we talk about thumbnails here, we want to keep them simple, we want to keep them colorful, and we want to keep them clear. If we follow those 3 steps for our thumbnail, what we'll find is we're going to grab someone and create curiosity. Personally, for branding's sake, I think a channel should consider keeping the same font and same color scheme in order to make sure they establish a brand so that when someone sees their channel or they see a video, they'll say, hey, that's Hampton Law, or hey, that's Lost Ash. That way you're able to gain more return viewers. Now, for example, let's take a look at the Lost Ash channel. And if we start looking at this, I want to look at his most popular video. Notice the title first on his most popular video. Not a crime for citizen to refuse entry to her home to police. I'm going to click on it again. For police who do not have an appropriate warrant. Okay, that's the title. Now we can certainly improve that title. Way too long, almost a run-on sentence, not exactly sure. Now the amazing thing is this got 103,000 views, okay? But look at the actual thumbnail. I want you to notice the thumbnail here of the most popular video. It looks more like a billboard, and I want to ask you a question. The wording on this thumbnail, does it kind of blend in or does it stand out? Can you tell instantly refusal of admission? And then let me ask you, can you read any of the lettering below refusal of admission? Notice how small that wording is. And here again, we have a paragraph on the thumbnail. General rule of thumb, do not put paragraphs on your thumbnail. Don't put a sentence on your thumbnail. You generally want to try to keep it to just a few words. You know, I like to do 1 to 5 words max on the thumbnail. That way you don't overwhelm people. You have to keep it simple. The point I'm making is we don't want this to look like a billboard, and I actually like the fact that he used something here where a police officer was engaging someone at their front door. But sometimes it's all about the perspective. It's the point of view. It puts someone in the middle of the action. So notice the difference between these two different thumbnails. Here, you have refusal of admission and a bunch of wording at the bottom. Think how easy it would be to just glance right by this and thumb through the next video or click on a different video. But notice the difference here between this video with 103,000 views and this video that I have used. This video has over 5.6 million views. Notice the difference. Same concept. I talk about a similar subject here on my channel. I talk about when cops come to your front door, what you're supposed to do. And if you refuse to let them in, how does that affect you? But notice, we won't ask again. We only have literally 4 words, bigger wording on the page. And notice what it does. Totally different perspective here. It now puts the viewer in the place of the person opening the front door. This is like a first person game viewpoint or something where you open the front door and here's a cop. We have a little bit of color in the background with the red van. We have him putting his hand in a very awkward position, which grabs your attention. And you see the imposing officer off to the left where they're saying basically, you're letting us in or we will not ask again. There can be many differences for the view count, but I want you to understand, we're making it easier on the viewer here. We only put a few words to grab their attention, and we put them in the middle of the action instead of seeing the action taking place somewhere else from a distance. It makes a sense of immediacy, a sense of intrigue and curiosity, and we have one video with 100,000 views and another video with over 5.5 million views. So on a score from 1 to 10, I give LawStash a 3 out of 10 for their thumbnails. Lots of room for improvement here and some immediate things that will get them more views. Number 4, first impressions of a video. Now, what do I mean by this? What does a viewer think of you when they immediately start watching your video? And this is so very important to understand because there's so many channels that get started and they just start talking and they don't think about the structure of their video or how they come across or how they present themselves to someone, because people have many other attorneys they can watch. They have many other options that they can look out there. Why should they take the time to watch you? And what is it about you that presents credibility? For example, I'm running into this exact situation right now with the channel you're watching at this very moment. If you take a look at my subscribers, you think by itself, what credibility do I have to be telling you about how to improve your YouTube channel? But then you find out that I have a channel with over 335,000 subscribers and 18 million views per month with Hampton Law. And then I run a totally different channel with over 4,000 subscribers that makes an additional $35,000 to $40,000 a month for my business. And then we start understanding that there is a reason to listen to what's being said. So for LawStash, let's press play. Let's see what his first impressions make on us and if there's any room for improvement.
Back to LawStash channel. My name is Anton Vieltsin. I'm an attorney in the Southern District of California here in San Diego. Imagine the police are trying to search and arrest an individual in a private dwelling. They come up to the front door, but the occupant of the house refuses to let them in because they don't have a warrant. The question becomes, to what extent the refusal to let the police in who lack a warrant can be used against that individual who is later charged with hindering or preventing an apprehension of a felon, which is essentially being an accessory after the fact. And before we answer that question, I want to thank you for watching me on YouTube, hitting the subscribe button, and sharing with my channel with your friends and family. If you're listening to the podcast,
Okay, lots here to unpack. I wanted to go through essentially the first minute of this video and take a look at it, the first impression that he is making. Right out of the gate, he's dressed fine. He looks just fine. We see that he's in his office. We see all the accolades and everything that's up on the wall, so we understand that he's an attorney. He's made it clear the type of attorney that he is, but there's so much room here for improvement. Now, the reason why I'm saying this, there's so much I'm going to cover here in just a minute, but I want us to look at this and ask this question. In the first 30 seconds to a minute of anyone's video that you watch, psychologically, internally, you're watching that person on the video and you're saying, are they worth watching? Do I trust this person? Are they going to give me an opinion that's more important than what I can find somewhere else? And in those few moments, I'm instantly asking, do I trust this guy? That's what I'm asking. That's what everyone's asking about your video. Now, I'm going to tell you, I think he did okay on this to start off with. I prefer less wind up. I prefer much less legal language that he's using in here. And he really has to get more just common language use at the very beginning of his video. But here I'm going to say 5 or 6 out of 10 would be for first impressions. This brings us to number 5, the hook. This is so very important. The very first few words that come out of your mouth must grab the attention of the viewer and keep them wanting more. Let's listen to the Lost Dash channel and let's look at his most popular video and let's see what he starts off with.
Welcome back to Lost Dash channel. My name is Anton Vielson. I'm an attorney in the Southern District of California here in San Diego. Imagine the police.
Now, let me ask you a question. He introduced who he was. Does that make you want to keep watching? Did it say anything that was creating curiosity or intrigue? Something that grabbed a hold of you that made you believe the reason you took the time to click on this video was being validated. Lost Dash is doing what most law firm owners do on their YouTube channel. They make a big, long wind-up introduction and they don't really use a hook. In fact, when you spend all your time introducing yourself and who you are in the first 10 seconds of your video, that sounds way too much like a commercial to the viewer, and you're going to see a huge drop in your retention. In other words, you're going to lose a lot of viewers in the first 10 seconds of your video because you did not hook the viewer. The best way to hook a viewer at the very beginning of your video is to ask an intriguing, curiosity-creating question that grabs the viewer and makes them want to hear what else you have to say. For example, can police charge you with a crime for refusing to let them in your home? This hook at the very beginning of the video will grab people's attention and go, ooh, that's a good question. I wonder what he's about to tell me. So it's important. I looked at Lost Dash's other videos, their other channel videos, and they all start the exact same way. He winds up, he introduces himself, asks people to like and subscribe to his channel before he's even given them any value. And by the way, that's my pet peeve. Never ask anyone to subscribe or like your video if you haven't given them any value yet. In fact, on my channels, I never ask for people to subscribe or to like my videos. If I give away enough value in my content, people will like and subscribe to my content on their own. Don't get me wrong. This attorney knows the law and he knows the case law. He knows how to present this information, and I'm sure he's a very good lawyer. But unless he begins to change the way he introduces his videos through using a hook, creating curiosity, he will always have a difficult time growing his channel and increasing his viewers. So remember, hook the viewer, set the stakes, explain to the viewer why it's so important they watch this channel, and then dive right into your content. Do not spend a bunch of time winding up or winding down. I haven't even covered the end of this video yet, but you have to make sure you don't waste all of your time at the beginning and the end trying to induce people to like who you are. Don't make vanity videos. The only thing you need to do is give away as much value as possible. People will continue to come back to your channel for more. So for Lost Dash, I have to give them a 2 out of 10 for their usage of a hook. Step number 6, the setup. When we talk about a setup, what I mean here is we talked about how you need to have a hook first, grab the attention of the viewer. Then you have to make it clear why the viewer should continue to watch your video. And part of the setup is setting what we call the stakes. In other words, if I first hook you, grab a hold of you, then I need to help you understand why this is personal to you. If you don't watch this content, you will not learn this information, and this is how it will affect you. And then you can establish your authority by saying who you are. You can say, and I'm going to give you a full example of this here in just a minute, but let's take a look at the Lost Dash channel and let's see what their setup is. We're going to watch the full 30, 40 seconds again, and I want you to notice, we've already identified not much of a hook, but does he set this up? Does he, in addition to identifying himself, does he make it clear why it should be important for you as the viewer to continue to watch?
Welcome back to Lost Dash channel. My name is Anton Vielson. I'm an attorney in the Southern District of California here in San Diego. Imagine the police are trying to search and arrest an individual in a private dwelling. They come up to the front door, but the occupant of the house refuses to let them in because they don't have a warrant. The question becomes, to what extent the refusal to let the police in who lack a warrant can be used against that individual who is later charged with hindering or preventing an apprehension of a felon, which is essentially being an accessory after the fact.
Unfortunately, there's really not much set up here. He doesn't really initially establish a hook. Now, he does establish a question. He does basically create the issue. He tells you what the issue of the video is, but he doesn't really set up the video. He doesn't tell me what I'm going to learn. Rather than just issuing this out as what we used to call in law school, the question presented, where you lay out what the question of the law is, we really need to make sure and tie it back to setting the stakes for the viewer. The viewer needs to know why this matters to them quite plainly. And I'm going to read you a hook that I created, setting the stakes and creating your credibility and authority as an example here of something that you could use as a lawyer. And of course, we're looking at a criminal defense channel here, but this is an example of how you could apply this to your law firm to improve your YouTube channel. Here's one of the examples. For example, I'm gonna go through this with you, and I'm gonna actually script it. I've scripted it all, but I'm actually going to look at you and go through it as if I were recording this for this channel. Is it legal for cops to pull you over, hold you on the side of the road, get a drug dog out to search your car, all without a warrant? How you handle this situation could make the difference between you spending the night in jail or driving away safely. I'm Jeff Hampton, former prosecutor turned people's lawyer, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to protect yourself from cops if they try to pull you over and do a drug dog search, and the magic words you can use to protect yourself if you find yourself in this situation. Now, I just used that as an example. Notice what I did. First thing I did, if I actually break down the construction of this. Number one, I said, is it legal for cops to pull you over, hold you on the side of the road, force a drug dog search on your vehicle without a warrant? It was a question. Is this legal? Can they get away with it? Curiosity creating. Now, maybe I could have shortened that a little bit more, made it a little bit more user-friendly to what I said, but that creates a question. The second part I did is I set the stakes. How you handle this situation could make the difference between whether you spend the night in jail or you drive on. That kind of says, oh, okay, maybe I need to know about this. Then we dive into the next portion where I say who I am. I'm Jeff Hampton, former prosecutor turned people's lawyer. That's my authority. That's why you should listen to me. That's why it matters what I'm about to say. Then I tell you that I'm going to show you how to stop cops from performing a search on you on the side of the road and what you can do to protect yourself and the magic words that you can use. Notice how we set and frame all of the content within the first 20 to 30 seconds of this video. The retention on that introduction is going to be at least 30 to 50% higher than what we've been looking at on the Law Stash channel. So when it comes to the setup, I would say the Law Stash channel gets a 3 out of 10 here. Number 7, presentation skills. This is really important because your ability to present and come across confidently makes one of the biggest differences in whether or not a viewer is going to continue to watch your content. The biggest YouTubers actually hire acting coaches, and they rehearse, and they check themselves, and they look to improve their presentation skills so that they can continue to grow their credibility. So let's take a minute and see the presentation skills of Law Stash.
And before we answer that question, I want to thank you for watching me on YouTube, hitting the subscribe button, and sharing with my channel with your friends and family. If you're listening to the podcast version of this recording on Audible or Spotify, please give my podcast a 5-star rating. And finally, if you want to support this channel, consider going to lawstash.com and check out some of my merch.
Now listen, I have to stop for a second because I can guarantee you he is dramatically limiting the reach of his videos by trying to sell merchandise. He has a little over 10,000 subscribers, but he has not even given value yet about what he's providing, and he's already selling merchandise. So my advice would be to do that at the end of the video, not in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the video. So let's keep watching.
Including the Do Not Arrest This Person t-shirts. Thanks for watching.
Quick message from Law Stash. Are you charged with a crime?
And by the way, I would not recommend doing this either. He's now doing an advertisement for his law firm before he's given any value whatsoever to the potential person. So I have to fast forward through this so we can actually get to the meat of his presentation.
States versus Sandra Prescott, and it deals with a warrantless entry into a home after Sandra refused to let the officers in, and of course the subsequent charges of being an accessory after the fact for her refusal.
Now, I actually think he does just fine presentationally. I think he could use a little bit more energy, maybe make better use of his hands, and maybe a little bit up and down and not be quite so monotone in the presentation here. But generally speaking, I think he does a pretty good job of keeping the viewer engaged. I've mentioned this already. I think it's important not to use a bunch of legal terms. Look, you see the best creators out there in any space. They take the complex and they make it simple for the viewer. The more that you can do that in your content, the more viewers you will have, the more customers will hire your law firm. So it's important that we do that. So imagine here though, if he were to take his presentation skills and simplify his language and combine that with storytelling. If he were to take that approach here and tell the story and maybe use some what we call B-roll, some footage of showing activity taking place as he tells that story, instead of it just being his face the entire time as we watch him, I believe he would have a much more engaging video. In fact, imagine him setting up this case that he's talking about, this issue, this concern, and then illustrating all of that you could learn from this by using it in a story and then creating illustrations from that story. This creates engagement. Why do you think people like to see all of the law and crime and all, the real crime type stuff that's out there, all the real crime stories? People love that because it's a story and it also illustrates a legal principle. So from a presentation skills, I'm not saying it's bad here. I think it's decent. I would say a 5 or 6 out of 10. Number 8, you must establish credibility. Always recognize that initially, nobody on YouTube is going to trust you. You must give the viewer a reason to trust you and help them understand instantly that you're credible. So now, how does LawStash set themselves up for credibility? I'm not going to go back through the entire video again, but you saw it. You saw that he talked about how he was an attorney, which is good. But why should I trust him? What is it about him and his experience as a lawyer that I should rely upon his expertise over someone else's? This is the critical question whenever you're establishing credibility. This doesn't mean you have to read off your resume to someone on your video, but it does mean you need to integrate the specific wording that makes you an expert into the first 30 seconds of your video so that people will come back and become returning viewers and see you as the expert in your field. So I'm going to give you an example of this. One of the things we talked about earlier, I'm going to use the same hook that I talked about before, and I'm going to tie in a little bit more of an example of establishing credibility. If you remember earlier, I said this: is it legal for cops to pull you over, hold you on the side of the road, and do a drug dog search even without a warrant? Then we got into this. I said, how you handle this situation could be the difference between you driving home safely or spending the night in jail. Then you could add this into the actual first 30 seconds of your video. You could say, as a former prosecutor turned people's lawyer, I've had over 20 years of experience and I've seen thousands of drug dog searches. And today, I want you to know, in this video, I'm going to show you how to stop cops from performing a drug dog search and the magic words you can use to protect yourself if the cops take it too far. Notice what I did. I established my authority, all wrapped up in the same hook. And it's so much more appealing and so much more of a reason to continue to watch that video when you integrate your expertise into the same curiosity creating hook. So when we talk about credibility, I have to give LawStash a 4 out of 10. Number 9, marketing setup. This part is so important. If you're a law firm owner, if you're a business owner, you want to make sure if you're going to take all the time to create a YouTube video, you want to tie your viewers to your business. Okay, we're going to take a look at the LawStash channel and we're going to look to see, number 1, what is his end screen call to action? How is he moving people forward to call his business? Does he have a phone number on the screen? What other type of steps is he taking to make it easy on the viewer to know how to reach him? Is he putting call to actions at the top of his description in his videos so that people can know how to work with him instantly? Let's take a look. So we're going to go back to the LawStash channel. Let's first start here. I'm going to go to the very end. I want you to notice we're watching the entire video. Nowhere on here do I see a phone number on the screen, which makes it easier to know how to reach him. And let's take a look at the very end of the video and see what his call to action is.
Friends and family, if you're listening to the podcast version of this recording on Audible or Spotify, please give my podcast a 5-star rating. And finally, if you want to support this channel, consider going to lawstash.com and check out some of my merch, including the Do Not Arrest This Person t-shirts. Thanks for watching.
Now I'm going to tell you, I think this is a little strange. We get to the end of the video and he pushes people to his merchandise store, which if that's his goal, that's fine. But most lawyers are trying to grow their law firm. They want to get more sales. They want more business coming through the door. So if you want that, you have to ask for what you want. And if you have, at a minimum, you have a couple of choices here on a call to action. You either want people to keep watching your videos or you want people to download some sort of free e-magnet or lead magnet or something like that. And we'll talk about marketing and email marketing here in just a minute. But I think it's important that you understand what is the goal of your YouTube channel. If you want more phone calls, you have to make it super easy. Put your phone number. Imagine if he put his phone number at the top left-hand portion of his video. Imagine if he also at the end of the video said that he provides criminal defense services in the area that he's at and he can provide a free consultation. People will at least know if they watch to the end of this video, they really liked what he had to say, and at least they can become a potential client. Now, I want us to also go to the description section. Does he put anything in his description that makes it clear that how to reach him and how to work with him? We have a bunch of other content here at the top. Makes it very difficult to see. You have to go all the way down. I see merchandise. I see Russian speaker, learn about recent victories. And then, of course, we do have his website here, which is great. But imagine if he instead moved this website up to the top, up here, right at the very top, and he put something simple like work with me or free consultation. And then he created a hyperlink that made it very easy for people to click, and it would immediately go to his website and allow people to call him and to be able to get started. You have to link your viewership to your business, and you have to make it super simple. Do not create friction for the viewer. You might say, Jeff, does this really matter? Is it really all that important? It's critical. The moment I started putting my phone number at the top left-hand portion of my videos, and if you go actually watch Hampton Law, you will see there's a phone number up there and it says Hampton Law with a phone number that we use for call tracking. I can track how many people are coming and calling my law firm because of YouTube videos. We receive about 150 phone calls per month, and we sign up an additional $2 million in business per year because we know where those phone calls are coming from, and we make it super easy for the viewer to become a client. So for Law Stash here, I have to say 2 out of 10 when it comes to actually linking their viewers to their business, creating a marketing setup. So easy to do. Put a phone number at the top. Put at the very beginning of the description section, work with me, free consultation. Make it easy on the viewer. He'll start seeing lots of new business. Finally, number 10, email marketing. Now look, criminal defense doesn't lend itself to email marketing as easily as many other law firms. However, he did mention that he offers civil law services as well. So let's just take a hypothetical example. Let's say he also does family law, and maybe he does divorce cases and child custody. One of the things you can do, and this works really well in this area, is to come up with a lead magnet strategy. What is a lead magnet? A lead magnet is essentially a downloadable resource that in exchange for that resource, you get the viewer's email. This allows you to go back and retarget them. You can create email nurturing campaigns where you can now take that resource of their email address and nurture them, send them follow-up emails, and increase your conversions dramatically for your law firm. So one example would be, if you were offering these type of services, he could say 5 tips to get custody of your kids during a divorce. That could be the name of the lead magnet. He could then ask them in the video, at the very end of the video, that, listen, I want to give you a free resource. Look down in the description below and download 5 tips to get custody of your kids during a divorce. And then if you tell them that and tell them it's free, you will have a number of people that have this problem. They've got this pain point. They're going to download that e-magnet, that lead magnet, and you're going to find them being filtered into your database, and you can now retarget to them and send them emails. I did this even with criminal defense years ago before I knew what I was doing, and I was still able to make sales from that. And it's a way to now have access to their email address and gain further sales for your business. Now, we know Law Stash is not using this technique. We've taken a look at it. So this is something where if he thinks this would help him on the civil side of the services that he provides, he should consider doing that. Overall, Law Stash had usually average or below average scores for most of these concerns. Think about how quickly the Law Stash channel could dramatically improve the conversion rate and the return on their investment for all the work they're putting into their YouTube channel if they just took the effort to improve their titles, their thumbnails, put together a hook, make themselves credible in how they do it, remove all this legal language and all of this commercial stuff that he's putting in there, and just give the viewer value. I believe he could 10x his channel in the next 12 months if he initiated these improvements. Now, did you know that it's possible for you to make an extra $2 million a year for your law firm through your YouTube channel? Check out this next video where I give you an insider's look into my $2 million a year YouTube funnel and how you can implement it for your business. See you over there.